that have never been done before.
We the people tell the government what to do. It doesn't tell us. We the people are the driver. The government is the car. And we decide where it should go and by what route to do. We the people are free. And I hope we have once again reminded people that man is not free unless government is limited.
Hello. 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 So you're hearing me? Right. Well, that's a bit distressing and disturbing. If only for the fact that I've been prattling on for 9 minutes and I started at the top of the thing rather than at the bottom. So I would have learnt that a bit sooner. So shall we start that all over again? Hi. Hello to everybody I said hello to in the whole beginning. I haven't started anything yet. So, but yes, nice to see so many of you popping in and joining the family. There's nice to see some old names that I haven't seen in the chat for a little while popping up. And unless you're a good lip reader, I'm not going to go through it all again. But if you're a good lip reader, go back and check out the first 8 minutes. Gonna have to edit that. And I did put up a few things from Angie and whatnot, so you've got a bit of an idea of what I was talking about, maybe. Anyway, for some reason, this microphone is not working now. It was. I had to reboot the system just prior to coming on air. That's why I was a bit late. And for some reason, it hasn't picked it up. It hasn't seen it. For some reason, it's not seeing it. That's very, very disturbing. So running off a different microphone, the one off the laptop tonight, so I don't know what it sounds like, but at least you can bloody hear me. So thank you for that, folks. Now, let's get all the way back down to the bottom of the chat so I can see how things are going. So, yes, pouring rain here. Has been London calling. G'day, Ian. Pouring rain, absolutely persistently precipitating, and so much so, and at such a velocity that I have discovered I have a bit of a water issue. There is water getting in, so I need to go and figure that out. But it seems to be coming around a window, in fact, the one right here, and I'll need to try and figure that out. Now, we've copped, I don't know, but at least I would say close to 2 inches in the old scale or 50 mil of rain today, just in, short bursts, but boy, does it come down. And I've been out amongst it. I had to achieve a few things today. I am currently sitting in my third change of clothes for the day, the first two having been soaked through. So expect me to have a cold by tomorrow, I suspect. And then over the next week or so, I will suffer again, man flu of all kinds. But anyway, it's sorted. And some of those jobs, most of those jobs are in fact sorted. So I had a good day today, even out in the rain. And in part, a lot of that was due to the messages that I've received from you guys. I can't begin to thank you enough, neither can Vince. Obviously, it takes a bit of a load off him. He worries about me a bit too. And for those people that used the super chat last night, thank you very much. You made last night the most successful night we've ever had with super chat, and I can't thank you enough for that. Also to those folks who've either gone off and donated at the website or gone off, better still, and bought a Kakistocracy cup or a shirt or a mug or a whatever. Thank you very much. We're hopeful of getting some new stickers done in the near future. And with a little bit of luck, I'm trying to attract a younger person who knows a bit more about all the Insta-twatograms that can help us use that to spread the message a little wider and a little deeper. So if you happen to know somebody who'd be willing to help us with that just a little bit, we can't pay them at the moment, but the goal eventually will be to try and find funds to do just that. So if you know anybody who might be interested, then give us an email, carl@vofhq.com, or Vince. Both of us would do it. We'll hear it. So, okay, thank you, Irene. You can hear me now, my lord. I'm so sorry. I should always be starting at the bottom of the chat. The problem is when I load this up, and sometimes it's an hour or even an hour and a half before the show. A lot of you get in, and this is part and part what I love about this. A lot of you get into the chat and have a chat, and that's what our family is all about. And I enjoy sitting here as I'm setting the show up. I enjoy watching that all happen as you come in and you start offering advice, a bit like Diane's doing right now. Put some garlic, wrap it under your feet. Yes, I do have fresh lemons and I have fresh honey. I have cinnamon with hot water. You forgot the scotch. Do I put the scotch with the garlic and cloves and wrap my feet in that? I think it'd go better with the lemon juice, the honey, the cinnamon, and the hot water. Is it okay if I add scotch, Diane? Just asking for a friend. I'm not real good at drinking. I think we all found that out on the boat. Thanks, Angie. Look at this. Raise funds with us. All give $1. Each of us. Good help. You're absolutely right. And as Vince and I were saying last night, if just every one of the people subscribed gave $1 a month, we would be in a position where we'd be doing pretty bloody well. We wouldn't be living high on the hog, but we would be able to pay all our bills and we'd be able to get to venues and get to places without having to beg for fuel and all the associated other bits and pieces that go with that. So we'd be able to get the bus serviced. We wouldn't be relying on the goodwill of others and everything to get through. So, yeah, it'd be good to get to that sort of position. Onions under the feet and wrapped, right? Okay, don't pour scotch in over the feet. I tell you what, Dave, we won't be using any of your single malt, I can tell you, regardless of whether it's homemade or not. Such a waste. Stingle. Oh, God. Brandy, not scotch. Synchronicity show. I'm a new subscriber, by the way. You better put up some more videos. Dude, come on, what are you doing? But brandy's not a bad idea. I remember trying that when I was a kid. When I say a kid, it was with my grandmother. When she was sick, she'd have a brandy. And I remember tasting it, and I always remember thinking, I'm never going to drink that again, and I never have. Scotch is in the mouth. Thank you, Tony. Thank you. We're all taking direction. Thank you. I have Diane's approval. That all goes forward. Bicarbonate soda, now hang on. I can do this one too. Bicarbonate soda, sea salt, and coconut water or alkaline water, good for recovery and prevention. Are we talking about hangovers or colds for that one? Just between you, me, and the gatepost. I started 2 conversations, which was a bit sick of me. Blah. Is that how you say your name? Blah. 13? Or it could be Bluey. See? Could be Bluey, but I don't mind Blah. Just for a bit of fun. I'll always remember you as Blah. We'll always have Blah. Blah. No, I haven't had a scotch yet. Sorry about that. Get some cement. I can always rely on my darling good friend Beckio from Truth Seeker TV to give me some forward and straight advice. God love you, woman. I hope you are doing well. And are you girls running a show tonight? Put that up in the chat. Truth Seeker TV over on Rumble is a regular Thursday night chat, a catch up with 4 ladies usually, and occasionally they'll have a guest. Usually they'll have a guest. I'm not sure if they will. So, Becky, chuck it up in the chat and a link if you've set your show up already to that. But that's happening tonight. Usually gets underway about 8 o'clock, I think, from memory, or might be 7:30 just after my show finishes. No. Becky, I'm so sorry. he's in a better place. Loki, a Malamute, beautiful dog, has been with Beck for years, and it's an old age thing. And we went through the same thing with Cass's Malamute, and it's never easy. They are such amazingly personality-filled dogs, and Loki, who I only had the pleasure of meeting once, was definitely one of those. So I'm sorry today that's come down to it. I'm sorry you've lost him. So no show tonight, clearly. Geez, the only Thursday night I remember to plug the show, and there's not going to be one. Anyway, we'll talk more about that next week. I'll make sure I give you another plug, and if you're up for it, I'll give you a call after the show. Stu, thank you very much for your super chat. I appreciate you so much, brother. And thank you for the Fiotos. Now, I'm going to get away from the chat so I can do a few other bits and pieces. Tonight's going to be a little bit higgledy-piggledy, folks, because I have been out all over the place doing bits and pieces today. So it's taken me a little while to do all that, and I haven't been able to get too much of a show together. But we did mention last night, and we now have the blessing of Vincenzo to run a competition for calendars. And I say calendars. It's up to you which calendar you might like to purchase at the end of the day. We are going to run competitions for the cover and then everything that goes from the cover. We are going to categorize these things. So our calendars will feature different things. So one of it might be, architecture. One of it might be farming. One of them might be scenic things, scenic views. One of them might be nightscapes. One of them might be, sunsets and sunrises. And to that end, Stu has sent me one in here. This is down Anglesey Way. I've left the one with the dog out for the time being. This one was sent from Jace up in Cape York. Now that is just a magnificent, I'm not sure if it's a sunrise or a sunset. I suspect that might be a sunrise. Don't ask me why I'm saying that. And Stu has also got one from around the Great Lakes there. There's with Hound. Now, these are beautiful, beautiful shots. Thank you for sending them through, bud. So I'm collecting all of these images, and what we will do is, if you're going to send them through to me now, and I'm just putting all the emails aside into a folder, and at the appropriate time when Vince has got everything set up, we'll transfer all those images onto a wall where you'll be able to go to vofhq.com and register your vote for the one that you, or the ones that you like. And then once we have culled by vote the ones that everybody likes, we'll get a competition that is more focused per category, that is about picking the winner, the cover, if you like, and then picking the months that go after that. Or really, we'll do a competition for the cover, and the rest we'll figure that out. But like I say, there could be, well, any number of categories, but I suspect a lot of you, like me, might like taking photos of the moon. So if you're taking moonshots or starscapes, that kind of thing, that'll be a category all by itself. If you are taking images of cityscapes, because you live in the city, it's easy for you to take photos rather than having to go out the bush and find something. Then who knows, you might be walking through one of the great parks of Melbourne or Sydney or Brisbane or Adelaide and find a beautiful flower, has a beautiful bee on it or something. You can take a photo with your camera, look lovely. So that kind of thing we can put in. As long as it's got a skyscraper in the background, it'll be a cityscape. But it might also fall into animals, flora, fauna, and natives, all sorts of categories. Vince came up with a heap of them last night. So we're going to see what we come up with, and then we'll try and categorize it. And if you've got photos or you would like to start taking photos for that vein, then we will have some significant metals for you as prizes, including 5 ounces of silver that's been donated. I think we've got 3 more grams of gold, and there might actually be another ounce or 2 of silver floating around from memory too. So we've got a few little bits and pieces that we're lined up, but the photo competition is a way of us being able to do this without any government in any state getting involved and telling us we can't do this and we can't give you prizes or we can't, enrich you in any way. This is the way around it. You submit an entry, essentially, but Vince will probably explain that more, I hope, tomorrow night. God love him. All right, let's move into some of the news things that are happening today. Now, there's been a bit of bitchiness and a bit of crap ABC driven, I think, to a certain extent. And boy, aren't they copping it in the estimates at the moment. And so they should. They should be bent over that table at Senate estimates and publicly flogged, the management of the ABC. And they should be flogged continually for the rest of however long estimates are going for. They've been more forthcoming, I guess, if I'm begrudgingly giving them a bit. They've been more forthcoming in this estimates than I've known them to be in most recent ones. But none of them are taking any responsibility, although the managing director simply stands up and says, oh, yes, well, I guess as the managing director, I take responsibility, but I don't really know what you're talking about. It's well below my pay grade, and I'll have to go and take it on advice and figure it all out, yada, yada, yada. There has been some movement at the ABC. People will be quite happy to hear that the guy who was in charge of their news division has been sacked. Well, was he sacked? No. He was resigned, is how the story is apparently playing out. It is alleged that he was given the choice to resign or be sacked. Now, when asked in Senate estimates today, the head of the ABC would neither confirm nor deny that were the case. In fact, it was interesting the way he phrased his answer when asked by the senator about it. And he said, words to the effect of, I don't know where you got that information from. And the question wasn't about, well, I've got some information, where do you think I got it from? The question was, I have some information, is it true? And this bloke danced around that as only politicians can. And we've seen that with the sex discrimination officer as well. My God, Michaela Cash, God love her, I've often wondered what worth she is to the parliament, but yesterday she actually stood up and had this woman twisting around in circles all over sex discrimination for transsexuals in the workplace regarding pregnancy. And while this person did acknowledge that men could not have babies, they were not willing to admit that trans women could not have babies, because the law changed under the Gillard Crud years now makes it so, or in fact it was changed under the Gillard years, now makes it so hard for them to not include this diversified bullshit in the language of their employment contracts and all that sort of shit. And of course, this woman started dancing around in circles saying, oh, well, it's all got to do with the possibility of pregnancy. And the examples they would use were the likes of a woman coming in to apply for a job and not getting that job because the employer asked whether or not she was planning on having children. And if she answered yes or no, was regardless, they're not allowed to ask that question because it's discriminatory. Well, a whole heap of interesting questions played out after that, including what happens if a man wearing a dress goes in. But anyway, turns out the sex discrimination officer has absolutely no friggin' idea. And then also the ABC has been very vocal about Pauline Hanson and the aircraft that she is using to get around the country. Now, that aircraft seats 5 people, and I can tell you, if you put 5 people in it, you are not putting a lot of luggage in it. It would be pretty squeezy in the back. I'm pretty sure it seats 5, might seat 6. But at any rate, the more asses you put in it, the less bags you're going to be able to stick in it. And I don't know that James Ashby is sharing too much of the baggage space with too many other people outside of Ms. Hanson and maybe a few advisors and somebody carrying a camera. So I would expect that the aircraft would have maybe 4 people in it at any time. Now, we've seen the memes, and I particularly like this one, where these 2 prats from the Labor and the Liberal Party are all upset. And they were a couple of weeks ago carrying on about, oh, they've given Pauline a plane. Well, I can tell you, 100% confirmed, they haven't given Pauline Hanson a plane at all. That plane is owned by a company called McDonald. Well, it's not McDonald Aviation, but McDonald Proprietary Limited, which is also in part or wholly owned by Gina Rinehart and a number of whatever her companies are. There were other people who donated things like fuel and maintenance costs for that aircraft, who also came out of different regions of Western Australia, whether they be friends or former employees or business associates, but all of them in some way associated with Gina Rinehart. That aircraft remains the property of Gina Rinehart. The aircraft maintenance and associated other things will be conducted by a company that Gina Rinehart owns. And the aircraft, at such time that Pauline Hanson either wins the federal election and gets a considerable aircraft upgrade thanks to the people of this country, or until she stops traveling and having the need to travel around, particularly to regional and rural areas of this nation where light aircraft like that are the only ones that can fly in. She's got it until she decides not to be in politics anymore. And who knows? They may decide that whoever comes after Pauline gets to use the plane as well, because they believe in what they're doing. Now, there is plenty of corporate sponsors that both the Labor and the Liberal Party have, but you don't hear too much bleating coming from them when they're, afforded similar luxuries. So I just want to point out for those confused souls that Pauline Hanson was not gifted an aircraft. It is not hers. If she was to stop being a politician tomorrow and the aircraft had to be sold, the funds would go to Gina Rinehart's companies. Not in any way, pardon me, sore eyes, not in any way to One Nation or to Pauline Hanson. So I hope we've cleared that up. I am looking for clarity on another matter. It appears Ricardo has come up with a new flag. Now, I don't know if that is the case. I haven't seen a Ricardo show in quite some time. I don't know if this is an old picture or a new picture. I must say it's better than the last flag that he came up with and ran around Canberra planting in the ground. And I think Darren Bergwerf was responsible in large part for removing a lot of those United Nations-looking one world flags that were being thrown around in Canberra. But anyway, he's come back by the looks of it with some other design. I know nothing about it, but if you do, I'd love to learn a little bit more. That would be quite nice. Now, this bastard we talked about last night, this is Paul Brereton. He has resigned, mainly because there is some suggestions of misconduct in his reporting, in his investigations, in not just the Ben Roberts affair, as it turns out, but also some other investigations. Now, the question that's being thrown out now is, should Paul Brereton be fully investigated before retirement? Because it's looking like he's going to get something of a golden handshake out of all of this. And all he has succeeded in doing is protecting the people who are probably most responsible for any orders that were given to men in the SAS, and certainly are accountable and responsible for any actions those men take. This bloke, Brereton, shielded those people and indeed has been responsible for a report that is almost entirely redacted to the public. I believe there is an unredacted copy in the wind, and so some people are claiming to have seen that unredacted copy. I haven't seen it, but they say what it says in that unredacted copy is pretty much a lot of what people heard in the first trial, if you like, the defamation trial that Ben Roberts-Smith had against the Nine Network and lost. Of course, it is a much higher burden of proof is required in a criminal trial, and so going forward with these charges, if they go ahead, there is a great deal of pressure from both sides of this argument to keep the whole thing going, and the other side is pushing very hard to stop it. The pressure, and a great deal of that pressure to keep it all going, is related to Julia Gillard. Now, she spoke in the UK in the last few days at a rally, funnily enough, that was all about growing women's rights, when, how ironic, she was the one responsible for removing the definition of women and allowing men into women's bathrooms in this country, making women's bathrooms less safe for women. And they were holding an event to say, well, we're doing great things for ladies. Some very strong-minded and strong-willed people from the UK with very good painting and banner skills attended, and they embarrassed the bejesus out of the red-headed clown. Wonderful. She was shielded, of course, by the organisers. The leftards like to throw the cloak up now and again. But I'm sure she got the message, and the message needed to be got. So congratulations to everybody involved with that. That was certainly unexpected. That two things for me, that Julia Gillard gets invited to speak at these sorts of events in the UK. I don't think she spends much time in Australia anymore. Do you? And who put her on this international speakers list, and how do we get her off them? She needs to start spending a bit more time at home. She, as one of her red-headed predecessors used to say about her husband, she got some splaining to do. I think so. So the corruption watchdog is going to be investigating why the media were present at Ben Roberts-Smith's arrest. And that is in part, I think, why Brereton is quitting. Now, this is very good news that the corruption watchdog is getting into this, but there are a lot of questions surrounding it all, and I hope that they get to the bottom of it. I hope this is a public inquiry and not kept private or in camera, as they like to call it, and that we get to see exactly what played out in the lead up to making the arrest of Ben Roberts-Smith very publicly, coming onto the plane, arresting him in front of his children, and marching him off in front of cameras to a waiting media throng, which it turned out had some prior knowledge, apparently, particularly Nick McKenzie, who filed a report about the arrest some 10 or 12 hours before the arrest had even happened. So we'll have to wait and see how that all plays out. But I hope justice, well, what is the justice in that case? The justice would be let Ben Roberts-Smith free of all charges and move on, because what they have in fact done is prejudiced Ben Roberts-Smith's ability to get a free and fair trial. They have prejudiced his case so obscenely and so grossly that he could never expect to get a fair trial. That needs to be investigated. Who at the AFP decided that they were A, going to film the arrest in 4K, and B, then farm that vision out to their media mates, starting at Channel 9 and then obviously moving it out to the rest of them. So I can't wait to see what's going to come of that one. Here is not necessarily their arrival here in Australia, but our new ISIS brides who turned up day before yesterday now. I think we had 4 and kids. I think there was 9 kids arrive in Sydney. Another couple arrive in Melbourne with another 6 kids. There are now rumours that at least one of those women that came back in, but I've got half a feeling there might be 2. At least one of them has now been arrested, and the charges, it looks like, will be travelling into a restricted country, like leaving Australia to go to the caliphate, essentially. Now, I've also seen the father of one of these women who has returned. She was one of the younger women who set off for the adventure of joining the caliphate. She's come back. She's apologized to her father, which is, I suppose, quite fitting. She wants to return to nursing, which is what she was studying before she went away. And the father has spoken out, saying, she's apologized, she's this, she's that, she's the other. They're only young children. They were only young. They made mistakes. We do let young people make mistakes and not have to regret it for the rest of their lives. Well, in some cases, in most cases, I would agree. Yes, we do. But in some cases, young people do make choices that they do have to live with for the rest of their lives, that do have implications. Some of them may be more severe the closer to whatever that point is, and maybe feel less severe with the more distance between the offence. But we're going to need to, I think, lift our game in that regard and try and help people clean up, take accountability. And this is in part what we're going to be talking about with For Your Consideration, taking accountability. It is the only way that we are going to be able to step forward. Albo's taking accountability. He's being accountable to the Australian people by standing up as late as today and saying we offered those people absolutely no help whatsoever to get into the country. Absolutely no help whatsoever. All right, I'm going to talk about something now that's potentially a little bit controversial. There is a bloke who's right now doing a Zoom. He's trying to lecture people on how to use bills of exchange to not pay their bills. Now, the bills of exchange argument is something that has been put around in my circles, at least for, the last 4 or 5 years. And I know that some of you watching are very deeply into learning and trying to figure out how this thing works. Now, the bill of exchange in theory, and I'll sort of paraphrase it, means that you can write a bill of exchange for any bill, present that piece of paper that's basically an IOU to any corporation who, as the theory goes, has access to your SESCUV trust or your QSIP and can draw from those funds. And therefore, the bill of exchange is a promise to pay from those funds anything you like. Now, the problem that people have with bills of exchange, in the most part, is finding someone who'll accept them. Now, I've been fortunate to be sitting on the sidelines of a number of cases where people have refused to pay their mortgages, refused to pay their loans on property. And I have watched every step of the way where they have tried to make the banks accountable for what the funds and everything that they are expected to pay back, and try and use bills of exchange. Now, there are a lot of our people that are dashing themselves against the wall. It happens in every war. If you don't test the wall, it'll never break. So these sorts of arguments are being applied, and many people are trying them. Some of them are getting to court levels. Well, in fact, if you stick with it, they all get to court level. It's then, how do you handle yourself in court? And even if you do have an argument and you think you can make bills of exchange work, I would caution you and use the lovely Doris Borokowski, who we've had on the show multiple times, and you would see with Becky O's show, Truth Seeker TV, if it were on tonight. She's a regular member of that group. Doris is still fighting the bank after they threw her and her family out of their home, a home that they basically paid off and were in a position to fully pay off. But they thought they would test the bank and see how it worked. Well, it didn't go terribly well. While they are still fighting for it, the bank has sold their property. The bank has settled the property, but has not given the cash to Doris and her husband. Now, I don't know why the bank is deciding to hold on, because all that was settled back in December. But because Doris has been pushing and pushing and pushing and pushing, and she's taken them to, as late as last week, the Supreme Court. And we'll be hearing more about that when she steps back into the court. I think it's at the end of June. We'll hear more about how that argument is going. But the whole bills of exchange thing is difficult for many people to understand. And my understanding of it is, if it works, and I believe there are two people that I'm aware of that apparently have made this work, one of whom lives in Cairns. If those people get to a point where this whole bill of exchange things works, you're visited by the men in black, essentially. You are told, righto, you now know how the system works. You've beaten us, you've beaten the system. And it's a hell of a thing to beat the system, because legalese is not easy to navigate, particularly when you are speaking as a living man or woman, and you've got to fight them through their quagmire of a court. So part of the deal is, when the men in black, and I call them that because I don't know what else to call them, part of that deal is, yeah, okay, you've got the black card, so to speak, away you go, but you are not allowed to tell anybody about it. You can't educate people about it, because if you did, obviously the system would be falling down. Now, there have been many people, not just Mike, who's doing his show tonight about it. There have been many people who've been pushing this for some time. But I have yet to hear someone come and say, I am having success. I have won. I've heard plenty I am having success, because you count a success if you can get the judge to move to the next step, if you can get them to delay whatever it is, the action that's being taken against you by the aggrieved parties. They're counted as successes. But the real success is, do you get to keep your property? Do you get to keep your money in your bank? Do you get to walk away without having to pay some horrendous penalty? And I can honestly tell you, folks, that I have not come across anybody who has had that success. I'm one of you, who I love dearly, is working on this at the moment, and I'm forever intrigued to find out how it's going, because right now it looks like there's only a couple of countries in the world that will accept bills of exchange through their banking systems, and that is the key. And one of those is the Dominican Republic. Dominican Republic accept anything through their banking system, including trafficked children. So, well, allegedly used to. And the other one's a little closer to home, but it's a Pacific country. So, worthwhile investigating. But once again, I think if you get to that point, you're not allowed to tell anybody about it. And do we really need it if this great financial reset, which we've been promised now for 4 years, is coming? Certainly, I do believe there is something being reset in the world when it comes to finances. Silver and gold have both taken a bit of a bashing overnight. And just trying to have a look at what the super chart tells me at the moment. I've got a pop-up window. Yeah, so we've had a little bit of a drop from last night. I did say I think I was expecting that. It's down to $103. It's gone green, but I know it's been red for most of the day. Don't get too worried about that. There is a huge amount of pressure being exerted on silver and gold at the moment, and this is what is putting all the pressure on the stock market system. Donald Trump has called for some interesting meetings to happen. It'll be Saturday morning, our time. One of those, I believe, is a message or a scheduled meeting with the head of the Fed, the new head of the Fed. He's got his hands full at the moment with what's going on in Iran, and now it seems Oman, where today he's come out threatening them. He'll go to war and start bombing them too. One of the negotiating things they're trying to get the Straits of Hormuz open again is to not get Iran charging every boat that goes through there $2 million as a sort of toll. And Oman have now decided that they're going to charge something similar, I guess, on the way out. So it's turning into quite the shit fight. And thank you, Israel. Thank you, America, for getting us into that. And we are in it, have no doubt. We've got certainly the RAAF are involved over there, and I'd be surprised if we didn't have some other of our assets on the ground. So they're all doing so very well. How much trust do you have in this wonderful government of ours? Well, maybe Matt Canavan, who I think has taken off another Pauline Hanson idea, has an idea. The Nationals have today called for an early federal election so that voters can have their say on the tax proposals. Well, I think they want to have their say on a hell of a lot more than just what they propose out of this budget. But I do support the idea of going to the polls early. I do think the Nationals would like to go to the polls sooner rather than later. But this gets once again back down to what we were talking about last night. You would find the Liberal Party and the National Party, I suspect, rushing to an early election. I would think Labor would also rush to an early election if they felt the advantage would still be theirs, even though One Nation would be on the rise. One Nation are still not in a winning position, if you like, to take leadership of the country, at least not without a very significant coalition support. Some 28 seats, I think they'd need on top of what's predicted they'd win already. So that's a big swing in a lot of Labor territory, and I do think Labor would lose quite a number of seats. But would One Nation pick them up? Well, I'm no political analyst, but on recent form, I'd say yes, they would pick them up. And I was talking to somebody today who was asking me how they can apply to become a One Nation, not member, but, well, you have to be a member as well, but a One Nation candidate for their area in New South Wales. That election isn't until March of next year, and people are already lining up. So that tsunami of support is pushing very, very strongly in a great direction, we think, for the country. But I do have, as do many others, have some reservations. We can't look into a crystal ball and say for sure what's going to happen, but we suspect what will happen. And if it does happen, it will be both a sad day for the country, but probably also one of the greatest days for the country, because it will be the day where the largest proportion of the nation finally wakes up. And we might finally be able to go and move forward with what is to come next. But right now, we have a bunch of people fighting about what comes next. We have a bunch of people so divided that we've got people arguing for this constitution or that constitution, and we've got people arguing that there is no constitution at all. In fact, we have other people who are going to go to international courts and try and prove that we don't have a constitution, and that might be great. But I wonder where that leaves us if they were to actually win. Where would that leave us? Okay, a country without constitution. Well, I hypothesized, but I would suggest that we would still be covered by Magna Carta 1215 and all of that. But who knows? Some very weird things playing out in courts at the moment, and some very weird arguments being made about sovereigns and sovereigns in the kingly sense is what I'm talking about there. Oh, speaking of that, not that I'm a big follower of royal news, so to speak, but just before we go, there has been multiple reports now that Andrew, Prince, former Prince, whatever he is, the weird sicko bastard from the royal family, has been interviewed multiple times by police at the new little farm where the royal family is hiding him. Now, apparently, Andrew is not a happy chappy at all and has started leaking like a sieve. Now, if we thought that he was a sick bastard, apparently he has a lot more details to tell, including details about his brother, the king, and how he has allegedly murdered a number of small children at rituals at various different stages through their lives. He has explained how he is there to be the scapegoat. He is there to be put up as the sacrifice for the royal family. And yes, he did do quite a lot of distasteful, disgusting shit. Now, these are stories that are coming out in the alt media at the moment throughout the UK. Some of it might be wishful thinking, but I suspect all of it is very true. Andrew is very upset that he hasn't been allowed to be, little Lord Fauntleroy anymore, and is spilling the beans. Watch this space. Life, the universe, and everything is about to get extremely interesting. And when it does, I suspect that those dickheads on the road that we see are going to be glued to their phones watching the content that comes out of that. Have yourself a good night, folks. Look forward to seeing you tomorrow.
You let one ant stand up to us, then they all might stand up.
Those puny little ants outnumber us 100 to 1. And if they ever figure that out, there goes our way of life.
It's not about food. It's about keeping those ants in line. That's why we're going back.
Does anybody else want to stay?
Let's rock!